Jyoti is absent. Rahul Devnath is absent. Mizanur Rahman is absent. All students. So in our class today, we are going to be start a new experiment discussions that is about the BIOS and CMOS. Can you see the PDF file on the screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, good. Okay, so this is the experiment number basically 3 that our experiment is about the BIOS and CMOS. And the topic that we are targeting to learn here is that, I mean, how to identifying the BIOS from on the motherboard, accessing BIOS via the CMOS setup program, configuring and clearing CMOS setup program passwords, and configuring BIOS. So BIOS settings. So here, these are the 4 targets actually basically we are having, and we are always doing this actually. While we are doing this experiment, we need of course that a PC, so that the PC that, I mean, will be able to show that actually the BIOS is available on that the system, and how to enter into that the BIOS, and what are the features, or what are the options, or what are the activities that there are inside of the BIOS. So that is actually the main target, to learn it on that actually. Okay, every computer system there is going to be a BIOS. So what is that the what the BIOS is, what is that the CMOS setup is, what is that the, how we can actually enter there, and why we need to enter there, and what are the different features are there that we should know. So unfortunately that it is not possible to do it here, as because, I mean, it is not going to be possible to share the screen at this moment, as because, I mean, I should have to restart the computer system. So if I'm restarting the computer system, then of course that I'm going to be disconnected from the Google Meet. So that is how, what that, I mean, this is going to be that your job. I'm going to be show you that how you're going to be do this, I mean, after this experiment. We are going to be after discussing this topic, we are going to be have the 2 assignments, one for the motherboard and one for the BIOS and CMOS. So we have already done that the motherboard topic, but we would like to finish this first discussions, and then we are going to be discuss that, okay, how we are going to be prepare then our assignments. That is actually important. I have thought about to take your first term, I mean, not first term, sorry, the class test 1 and class test 2. I think it's not going to be a good idea, as because we are actually very short minimum number of classes with us, as well as that, I mean, university did not say us to take any in-depth exam yet. So the exams are going to be postponed, I mean, until that the university is going to be open. We're not going to be face any exam, but we will try to learn it out that actually the targeted experiments that we are going to be discuss in the class, and only we have finished 2. We should have to do I mean, I think we are targeting 8 or 9 experiments. So but we have, I mean, only few classes. So that is what the reason actually I thought that, okay, the class test 1 maybe it's not needed now. At this moment there is no assessment is needed. So to do this, I mean, we are having here that, I mean, this experiment, but I would like to follow that the another document that is actually going to be tell us a bit more, both of actually prepared by me with the help of the internet. So now we have already learned it out that what is that the BIOS is the basic input output system. So we have learned it out that it's a firmware. We have already learned it out that, okay, there are several instructions are going to be set up inside the BIOS. Yes, that is going to be useful for actually start up your computer system, as because it is going to be keep all that your computer informations, and it is going to be if it could not there, actually that could be a difficult task for the computer, because every time computer could need to be install the several hardwares, the device drivers for the different components. As because BIOS is there, so it is actually keeping that the basic input output system settings. And to do that, actually it is using the CMOS, that we have already learned it, that the CMOS is an NVRAM, that non-volatile RAM, because it is having a CMOS battery, and we know already that the BIOS is actually going to be stored into that the CMOS. Okay, so yeah, the discussion is actually that the some discussions in the introduction part of that the BIOS is actually are very much familiar with us. We have already discussed into that motherboard topic. So BIOS is an essential component in the computers which is used for controlling hardware. It is a small software program part which loaded into the ROM, that is actually hardware. So that is actually represents the firmware, and part of which is in the EEPROM, electrical erasable programmable read-only memory. Therefore, term flashing to indicate the action to change the EEPROM. So this is actually nothing else than that it's talking about that it's a firmware. There is a set of instructions that we say it actually that I mean, it is going to be the fixed. I mean, it is going to be the read-only by that the computer, but it's not possible to write anything on there. But the writing may possible to rewrite that the informations. So it is going to be possible with that the EEPROM, but usually that, I mean, it is going to be the factory build instructions, and it is always going to be, yeah, awesome. Maybe my mistake. So this is what actually it is trying to tell to us, that I mean, of course, that I mean, it is one of the BIOS is one of the important component for the computer systems to boot up the computer systems. So there is the post, that the post also we have studied. We have said that it is power on self test, and we know all of us, we know that we are going to be computer turn on or restart the BIOS does an inventory of the hardware found of the computer system and carries out for a test called the post in order to verify that all of it is functioning properly. So this is what actually it does, right? We know that, I mean, the power on self test, when we are turning on the computer system, so that it is going to be, the computer is going to be go for an automatically test the power on self test, and on that the test it is going to be check out that I mean, the different hardware or different settings, that okay, it is going to be okay or not. You have already said that if there is no errors, if there is no error, then there is no problem. That is going to be I mean, take you to actually boot up the computer system. But if there is some errors, discover some errors, and I already discussed them, then I mean, if the errors is the minor, then also it is going to be able to skip that the minor errors. But if there is a serious error, the error is serious, the BIOS stop loading the system, and it is going to be give you some sort of informations, and that the informations can come in a varieties of ways, like it can display a message on the screen. If possible, as the display device might not yet be initialized or might be defective. So this is what I mean. It can happen that, I mean, if there is any problem found during the post, the power on self test, on that time it is going to become with that some of the text message. So by seeing that the text message, you should have to understand that actually what is actually going to be the I mean, what is going to be needed. I mean, that the instruction message is going to be tell to you that what you are going to be do. Usually, I mean, if it is happening, then maybe you will think that, oh my God, my computer has died, but it is not. Actually, it if it is, I mean, getting some of the problem, it should come with you. I mean, a message. It can happen that okay, for a regular checkup, that maybe you have deassembled your all the components. That means you have, I mean, you have just, I mean, open your system case, and you just, I mean, for cleaning purposes, you have disconnect all of the components, and actually after cleaning, then you are actually again installing them. So it can be happen that okay, your RAM is not installed properly, so it can give you, I mean, a message with the blue screen that okay, there is some paradigm errors. So you can actually check that. You can throw that the message. You can check that actually what is the problem is, and maybe it can be asked. Maybe in your mind it can come that how I'm going to ask it if it is coming on the screen. Of course, that you should have to use a different device. Maybe with your mobile, you can just browse it, that okay, with that the text message came into your screen. With that, you can just simply search onto that internet, and you will find it out that actually what exactly that the problem is. So this is what actually it is going to be give you some sort of information. As I said, that it can be with that the RAM, for example. So RAM is installed, not installed properly. So you can actually shut down your computer system, and after disconnect your electric plug, then actually you can check the reinstall the RAM and check that the RAM is installed properly or not. After installing properly, then again switch on. Then if you are seeing that okay, the problem has solved, then fine. If it is not solved, then you should have to think about that maybe your RAM has maybe your RAM maybe that it has damage. So that means you have to replace the RAM. So if you're replacing the RAM with the new RAM, you're replacing it, then everything is going to be all right. So this is what actually you should have to first understand, that okay, what is the problem? What is the problem is? I mean, if the computer is not starting up. So this is what one of the way that displaying the message, or it can give you some beeps which refers to the source of the error. So this is also quite interesting fact, that I mean the sequence of beats, we know that all of us, we know that I mean when we are starting up that our computer system, on that time initially it gives you a beep. So that the beep actually you're getting, that the beep is actually it is telling to you, a single beep is telling to you that okay, I mean the post has successfully run. So that means there is no error. Your computer is ready. Your computer health is good, and it's ready to boot up the computer system. So that the single beep is representing, so that we all can hear that beep, single beep. So with that, the single beep is confirming that yes, I mean everything is all right, and you are ready to explore your computer system. So this is what that the sequence of beats. So that means it can be different sort of beats. Like I mean, we are listening to single beep, but it can happen that you can hear that the two beeps or maybe three beeps. So this is what by hearing that the beeps, if that the computer is not turning on, I mean if it is not boot up your computer system, your operating system, then actually you will be able to listen that the number of beeps into your computer system, and by hearing that you should have to be understand, or you should have to be find it out that actually what is the problem exactly is. So it exactly happened with me. I mean, when I was using my laptop, the Sony Vaio laptop. So suddenly, suddenly it was giving me that the beeps, like I mean, two beeps consecutively, and smaller one beep. So it was like tit, something like that. Okay, my display was not coming, and I was very much worried, and I was trying to finding out in the Google explore. I was trying to find out that the problems, and I found that it is actually the graphical related problem. So I tried to solve it many ways. I have tried, but I failed. Then I have taken this laptop to the Sony showroom, and when that I mean I have and they take actually their system is that service room, in their service room servicing, for getting the servicing you need to wait for 1 month. So I have given that my laptop, and after 1 month when I have visited there, so they have said that I have to change my motherboard, okay, because my graphics card has gone. So it is not possible to replace the entire motherboard need to be replaced. So I asked them that what is going to be the cost for that. So they said $300, okay, for I mean for exchanging the motherboard, or for replacing the motherboard. Then I said that why I'm going to be spend that the $300 for my laptop. By that the $300 I can buy a new laptop. So they are telling that actually they're laughing, and they're telling that yes, okay, you can do for that. That is going to be much better for you. So that is what happened. Then actually I bought the Asus laptop with the maybe $350, and still that is actually I mean properly running. I think it's about uh, 2013. Yes, that means almost 8 years it's gone that my Asus laptop is going well. But only I have bought it with the $350. Okay, but my Sony laptop, Vaio laptop, it was $1,050 maybe, $1,050. But I have used it for only 2 years. Okay, So this is what I mean all about the electronics things. Actually, it's all about the luck. Okay, if your luck is good, then maybe a cheaper laptop can run much better than a brand laptop. So so that is my suggestion to you. If you're buying the laptop, it's not necessarily that exactly you should have to go for that Sony, a very expensive one, right? So maybe you can get a better one by, I mean, investing the less money. Anyway, so this is the another discussions come out from there. So now this is what actually it is telling, that emit a sequence of beeps which refer to the source of the error and send a code called the postcode to the computer serial port, which may be retrieved using special diagnostic hardware. So sometimes it happens. Actually, this is these days it's rare. And I mean, you will be find that on that the motherboard there is going to be a display. There is going to be a small display, smaller display. On that the display actually that number, the number is going to be printed. That actually what is the problem is there. So this is what it is trying to tell to you, that I mean there are different ways that the computer is going to be reached. Will try to reach to you if there is any problem during that the post, during the parent self test. There is any problem happens, that any one of the way that it will try to reach to you and try to tell to you that actually what is the exactly problem that your computer is facing. And that means that without solving that the problem, it's not possible to, I mean, both up that the computer system. So that is what I mean, our attention now, that okay, what is going to be that the way that we are going to understand that okay, what is the problem is there. That is what actually we have to start discussing here. So look that there are actually the different type of BIOSes are there. We are having that these are the common most common BIOSes these days. Actually there are a lot of others. I mean, even that every motherboard, most of the motherboard manufacturers are are these days having their own BIOS. Like you're having the Asus, you are having actually that so many like Gigabyte BIOS, Asus BIOS. Then these are the older actually, that these days also you're going to be get some of them into that the newer PC. So here that the things you're seeing, that the Phonics, AMI BIOS, Award BIOS, these are all famous actually. That I mean, it was very popular from the very beginning to now. So we are going to be look after this three different BIOSes. I mean, fortunately that these BIOSes are actually, I mean, not so big, not so many options are there. Like that, the newer BIOS systems are there, like Asus I said. The another one maybe the UEFI. So with that the extension of UEFI. So if you're actually looking to that the BIOS, you're going to be find it out that there are so many features are there, as because you know that the computer systems, I mean, it's upgrading day by day with the different graphical performance, with that the different options. I mean, that to make your computer system more faster, that there are several extensions are there. So that's why that the BIOS is actually also extension. That there are some instructions are in the BIOS also, so that actually you can control that your basic input output systems into your computer system. Anyway, so we are going to be look after this in the three different BIOSes. So this the first one is actually uh, showing you that the award BIOS systems. And yes, in that the BIOS, if you are having this BIOS into your computer system, then you should have to learn that okay, there are some of the beeps, and those beeps are going to be give I mean into that the different situations. If there is any problem, if you're getting, or maybe it is going to be give you some beeps to let you know that okay, everything is all right. So that's why I mean, what the BIOS you're having, it's you need to know in the system, in your system, and you should need to know that okay, what inside of that the BIOS you're having. So it's always a good idea to actually study with your own computer system BIOS, that what the BIOS you're having, because if any problem happening into your computer system, you'll be able to easily catch them. So this is what that you can see that there are different beeps. So it is telling that one short beep, right? That means the PC boarding is normally. So that is what the PC the post we are talking about power on self-test, it is successfully, if it is successfully done, if it is successfully passed, then that one short beep will come, and then later that your computer is going to be boot up or start up. If there is the two short of beeps, then you are having the CMOS problem. So this is also a good thing that, I mean, you will get that, okay, if there is the problems with the different bits, then what is that the solution, suggested solution that actually you can take into account. So it said that if there is a short beeps, then it is going to be CMOS problem. So reinitialize the CMOS by removing the BIOS stack and replacing it, and by moving jumper JP4. So this is what actually we all already we have learned that on the motherboard we are having a CMOS battery, and we are having a that is actually our bad luck, that actually we have not seen the motherboard I mean with our naked eyes till now. But when we are going to be see, then we are going to find another with that done, not, there is not only a CMOS battery but also a jumper is there. I think one of that the computer maybe I have shown, but it is not clearly visible into that computer. Let me check that. I am having maybe here one. Not, yeah. So this is actually that the jumper, right? So you can see here that this is that the jumper actually. Okay, so you can actually unplug it. Look, that there is a, here is a two pin. Here is a two pin are there. So that the single the jumper is going to be actually simply placed. This is that the female one, right? That one actually fixed, and this is actually the male connector. So the female connector two pin, that is going to be need to be just, I mean, enter. So that is what we call the jumper. So if you're removing that the jumper from the motherboard, and if you wait for 30 seconds, and you are, of course, that you should need to be very careful that when you are going to be deal with them, because, I mean, electrical components is quite risky to actually handle with. So it's always better that you turn off your computer system, and you unplug your electric plug, and then actually you open this CMOS jumper, and it remove it, and then wait for 30 seconds and install it. So what is going to be happening that, you know, that there is the CMOS battery is actually supplying you that the constant power, so that if you are removing this jumper, then and wait for 30 seconds, so that means your CMOS setup, your BIOS setup is going to be in by default. So it is going to be set with the by default. So that is what exactly it is trying to tell. It is not only that the way that actually to do this, but also you can do it in another way. Maybe there is no jumper, so you can actually remove that your CMOS battery, and actually you can wait for 30 seconds, and you can actually place that battery into the same place. You can connect that. So if you are doing that, then also your CMOS is going to be with the default settings. So that is actually, it is trying to tell to you into here that, I mean, that there can be a solution like that. I mean, if you are finding these two beeps, then you can take these actions, and you can see that what is happening. So that is what one long beep, one short beep. So if it is that the beeps you're getting like that one long beep and one short beep, then you should have to understand that the problem is with your RAM, or maybe with your motherboard. So say that the place the RAM module correctly in slot, test RAM or change it. So this is what we said, that already I have explained to you, that, I mean, if you're finding that there is a problem with the RAM, then actually you can try to reinstall it properly if it is not installed properly. And if it is installed properly, then again that the same problem is there, then that means you should have to be, I mean, check with that new RAM, right? That is actually fit onto your memory slot. With that the new ROM and RAM, you have to check that your computer is running on properly or not. So this is what actually it is trying to tell, that this is that the dips. So this way that we are having the several set of different beeps, and with that the beeps actually you are going to be get the message from that your computer system, and you can check. So if you are getting the beeps, you can have this list that for your BIOS, and then you are going to be just simply follow that actually what is the meaning of those beeps, and what are going to be the actions. Like that one I have said to you, that one long beep and two short beeps. So this was actually in my case it was happening, okay, that the problems with the graphics cards, and check the graphics card is correctly placed in its slot if need be test with the another video card. So this is can possible into that your desktop computer if you're using an that the external card, right? So it is talking about the external card, or maybe that if you are having that the problem with the inbuilt graphics card, then you can actually try with an external graphics card. So that means you can separately install that the graphics card onto the desktop computer. But in case of that the laptop, it is not possible as because you do not have any PCI slots to install your graphics card. So that is actually exactly happened with me, right? If in the case of my laptop, even though it is $1,050 price, but I was useless. Everything on the computer is fine without that the graphics card. So with the only for the graphics built-in graphics card, my laptop is actually it is just nothing. No use of that the laptop. So this is what actually it is talking about here. So there are different bips are there. So different sort of bips are there, and the different meaning of there and different procedure to solve them. So you can actually read them all of them by yourself. So that is that the AMI BIOS. So in that case, the beeps are different. There is a number of beeps with the different sequences, short beep or longer beep. But here, the beeps are with actually every beeps have some meaning, and that is actually that the not short or longer, but it is depend on the number of beeps. So it is telling that in case of MI BIOS, that if it is the single beeps, that means refresh failure. RAM is not refreshing correctly. Reset that the refresh value in the BIOS, or reset that the BIOS and place RAM module correctly in the slot or change them. So this is that also that giving you suggestion that okay, if there is a single bip you're getting, if you're using a AMI BIOS, so you are going to be understand that okay, there is some problem with that the RAM, or maybe with that the the BIOS configurations, so that you can actually have to look after. So this is that the two bips, so TNT something like that. So if the two bits, then there is a parity error. So that is related with your RAM, right? So if this 3 bits, then what is the problem? 4 bits, what is the problem? 5 bits, what is the problem? So if you're having the AMI BIOS, so you should have to know that what are these bits meaning. So if that the beep you are hearing, then according to that, you're going to know that what is the error, and you are going to be able to solve this, or you're going to be able to check with this suggestive solutions. So this is what it is trying to tell to you. And there is another one, the phonics BIOS. So this phonics BIOS is, look that it has that the different sequence bips than that the other two CMOS bips we have seen. This is the with the sequence 1 3 1 1. So that means it can be like tit 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 tit, something like that. Okay, so it means that this is the DRAM refresh error. So you should have to be correct that RAM install. You should have to be correctly install that your RAM into the RAM modules. So and then you can actually fix up this problem. So this is what that the phonics for the phonics BIOS, that there are sequence of bips are there. So we have seen here that we have deal with these 3 BIOSes, and we have seen that each of them are having that some of the meaningful bips, that okay, if there is any problem, that through that the post BIOS will be able to detect those problems, and that is going to be actually that the problem is going to be informed to you by using that the different set of bips, or the different sequence of bips, or it can come with the text information as well. So in that the CMD, right? So you can actually also get that the text masses, CLI, right? Command line interface. So this is what. Do you understand this?
Sir, just for being sure, the post instruction does created the beeps, right?
Yeah, this is going to be this that the post is going to be power on self test is going to be run by whom? BIOS, right?
Yes, sir.
So that that has been stored where in the CMOS setup. So when that the BIOS is going to be do that, the BIOS is going to be do that the post operation is going to be run, then the result will come, right?
Yes, sir.
So you will see that initially there is going to be a speaker, small speaker on the motherboard. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So on that the speaker, when the error comes, that the signal comes to that the speaker for that specific error. Okay. So that is already set up with the BIOS. Already it has that the instructions with the BIOS. Okay. So if there is the problem with my hint, then maybe one bit. If it is problem with my leg, then there is going to be two bits, something like that. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
So this is what actually it is said here, that I mean that's why the different BIOS they're having, that's why the different number of bits are there. Okay,
Yes, sir. Sir, if we
maybe.
after turning
Yeah,
on the computer, if we remove the CMOS semiconductor, will it remain
right.
turned?
You will,
If we turn on the computer, then if
right.
you remove the CMOS semiconductor, then will the computer remain turn on?
You cannot. I mean, you are trying to telling that, I mean, you are going to be removed that the CMOS.
Yes, sir.
No, you are going to be removed that the, you'll be able to remove that the BIOS, but not for all of that the BIOS. These days, that the BIOS also have some. I mean, I have said to you while we are discussing about the motherboard, that in some motherboards you'll be able to find out that what the BIOS are, but they are actually building. They are soldered onto that your motherboard. Okay, but some of the BIOS actually you'll be able to remove, but you are not going to be touch on there. Actually, you are going to be how you are going to be control it with that the jumper, right?
Yes, sir.
That the jumper I said, like that I have shown into
It
this
does connect or
document, that
disconnect
this
the connection. Yes, sir.
is jumper, right? I think that disconnect the CMOS
Yes, sir.
battery. Then your RAM, I mean NB RAM, that means the CMOS is not going to be able to run. You understand that? So it is going to be stopped. So that means what? That means when you're going to be replace the battery or replace the jumper, on that time the CMOS is going to be with that by default.
Yes, sir.
You understand that? It is going to be by default. I mean the settings is going to be by default. Get it or not?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so this is what actually we have seen that here, that we are having the different type of the BIOSes with the different computers. You can have with any one of them into your, or maybe that you can have a different BIOS than this, that what we are seeing here. But with these three BIOS manufacturers, that Phonics, AMI, BIOS, and AOR, we are just trying to understand here that okay, the different computers are going to be have the different type of BIOS, but they are actually the bips are not going to be same. That the procedures to reach to you with that the arrow information cannot, it may not be the same. So that is actually, that's why we have seen that the three different BIOSes are having the three different sets of beeps to let you know that actually what is that the problem is, to let you know that actually what that the beeps is trying to tell to you. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir. Ping. Okay. Yes. Ping. White number there.
Okay. So yeah, right. So this is what I mean. We have learned about it, and then that okay, we have seen that the different ways that how that the BIOS are going to be let you know that what type of problem you're going to have. So you have tried to learn about the sequence of beeps for the different BIOSes that we are having. Okay, so now we are talking about the BIOS setup. So this is one of the most important thing that you should have to understand. I've already said that yes, we are having a BIOS program, setup program,
Gosh,
that is also known as the
payment is coming.
CMOS
It's way slow.
setup that we are going to be have. So it is talking about most BIOSes have a setup program for modifying basic system configuration. The kind of information is stored is self-powered memory using a battery so that the data remains saved even when the computer is turned off. So we have already discussed about this, right? So that we have learned it out that the BIOS is storing that its instructions into that the CMOS and the NVRAM, and actually that the CMOS battery is providing that the memory to actually hold that the instructions even though when the computer is turned off. So each machine has several BIOSes: the motherboard BIOS, the BIOS which controls the keyboard, the video card BIOS. Okay, so it's not that only that. I mean, the BIOS is going to be only for that the motherboard, but it can be also for some of that the other devices of the computer system. It is trying to tell to you, and possibly the BIOS for a CSI controller, the network card BIOS for booting from the network, so that can be there. Okay. So when the computer is turned on, so this is now talking about the desktop computer system, that how you're going to be entering into your BIOS. So it's saying that when the computer is turned on, the BIOS displayed a copyright message on the screen, then carries out diagnostic and initialization test. After these tests are complete, the BIOS displays a message prompting the user to press one or more keys in order to enter BIOS setup. Depending on what brand of BIOS it is, it may be the key F2 or F10 or delete or some other like escape or like that insert control alter control as. Okay, so it can be that many ways. I mean, the different computer systems are having that the different special keys. These are known as the special keys actually, that by entering the special keys you'll be able to enter into your BIOS system. So mostly most of the time it is going to be with the F2 or F10 or delete key, but it can some other keys as well for that your computer system. So it is talking about a display when you are starting up the computer system, but usually that these days you are not going to be get that the display that, like that. Okay, so for that AMI BIOS, so that the display first, I mean, when we used to start up the computer system, we used to see this first screen as the first screen. We used to see this, but these days actually that display is not there, but we'll be able to, I mean, when you're going to be start up your computer system, you should have to immediately press that F2 or delete or F10. So you have to check that actually which one is our. So you can start with the F2 when you're starting your computer system. If you're placing on the F2, if it's not working, then actually you can restart the computer system. Then you can check with the F10. If it's not working, then you can actually restart the computer system. You can check with the delete key on the keyboard, right? So there is not going to be, this is not going to be any harm. This is not actually harmful for your computer system. You can find it out that actually, you know, which key is the special key to entering into your CMOS setup or BIOS setup. So this is talking about that. Okay, how you're going to be how you're going to be actually move inside to that the visit to your BIOS setup, that is actually telling that about the special keys, and it is talking about the reinitializing the BIOS. As BIOS setup is used to edit hardware settings, changing them might cause the system to become unstable. It might not even restart. When this happens, the changes to the BIOS must be cancelled and the default settings must be restored. So that is what it is trying to tell. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
Sir, can I?
Yeah, right. Thank you. So it is talking about that. I mean, reinitializing the BIOS. So there is that the and inside the BIOS, when you are going to be go to the inside of the BIOS, you'll be able to see that there are a lot of settings that there actually. It is going to be not only give you that your system information, your hardware informations, your some settings informations, but there are some other features are, as well are there that actually you can change. You'll be able to change them. You will be able to deal with them. So the fact here is that the thing you are going to be do this with the BIOS after changing the BIOS settings, then always when you are going to be leave the BIOS, it is going to be ask you to do you want to save the changes that I mean you have made. So usually we press the F10 or F12 maybe for saving and exit. So or maybe you can able to actually deal with that your keyboard as well, your mouse as well, that I mean you can save and exit. So when you're saving an exit and your computer is starting, if there is any problem to your, I mean, if your computer system is not booting up, simply you can go to the BIOS again, and you can actually place that the BIOS default, I mean, into your default settings. If you're clicking on the default settings, saving it and restarting it, your computer problem is, I mean, is going to be solved. Or if you cannot enter into that the BIOS, then you can simply go to that, I mean, shut down your computer, unplug your electric plug, unplug it, and then just remove that jumper or that the battery, and wait for 1 minute and just reinstall them, and then actually you'll be able to easily start up your computer system. So that is what that is trying to tell to you, reinitializing the BIOS. And it is talking about the BIOS and CMOS. So this is what actually I have removed from that in this experiment, because this the discussions we have already done into that our into our motherboard discussions. So but here you are going to be get some insight of informations. I'm going to be request you to study this whole informations like AMI BIOS. You call that, what is that the full form of it,
American
American Megatrends
Megatrends.
Incorporation.
Hmm.
So that is what I mean. There are different informations you'll be able to get in detail here. So this is talking about the identifying the BIOS ROM. So this is that a picture I have placed here. These days, actually, the BIOS are not look like that. So you can see here that a typical system BIOS ROM chip. So Phonics, you can see that Phonics BIOS trademark, and this is that the BIOS model, and that the model number. So that is actually that the one of the BIOS you can see here. But we have seen into that the other motherboards that, I mean, it can have that the two BIOSes, like this type of chip, like this M1 and M2, that the master BIOS and backup BIOS, M BIOS and B BIOS. So, and some of the motherboards you'll not be able to find it out that where your BIOS is. So anyway, so that is that, I mean, identifying the BIOS ROM. So you'll be able to identify if it is there, if it is there. So it is
Oh,
also, again, it is going to be a challenge to, I mean, that you can actually discover from that your motherboard manual. So your motherboard manual can help you to find it out that actually your where is your BIOS onto your onto your onto your motherboard. So this one, these are the some of the information it has been asked to write down. Replace the PC case cover and start the system. Be sure the monitor is turned on, and when the first data appears, so press the pause break key on the keyboard. So this is actually telling that how to go to this screen. But these days, as I said, that these days we are not having this. We are simply can see that the our brand, like logo, usually that Gigabyte, or maybe that Asus, or maybe that Intel. So I mean, we are these days not actually seeing this type of skin. It is not visible these days at all. Okay, so here it is trying to show you that, okay, what is that the information is there when that the computer start up and first screen it is visible to you. So it is telling you that, I mean, you can look here that it is talking about your logo of your the BIOS, the American Megatrends, and here what is that the release date of this BIOS, 7/12/2000, and Megatrends AMI BIOS. What is that detail information of that? I mean, who is actually released this BIOS, and then it is to go for that. This is the model number, and then it is go for that the sum of the test, like that, check the system health. Okay, so that is the CPU, Pentium 2, and with that the 667 megahertz. So you can see here itself that what is your processor power, and then you are having the checking the NVRAM. So that is the non-volatile RAM, and it is that this much of kilobyte. So these days actually it is measured with that the not kilobyte, more megabyte, gigabyte. So sequentially it is increasing. That is the RAM actually, that the last one. And then you are having that the different different secondary devices, like you're having the hard disk. So it is giving you that hard disk information, that it is found or not, it's correct or not. It is two hard disks are there. I mean, on the computer screen, it has been taken the picture. There on that the computer, there are two hard disks and one CD-ROM drive, and then there is the other cell, there is nothing, and then the pre-master and some other informations. Actually, it is talking about the direct memory access. So so this is that the total informations, your computer hardware informations of that. I mean, your computer, it could be gettable. Most of the information could be gettable from the screen. So this is what it is trying to tell to you, that the information sheet is here. So it is telling to you to actually fill up these informations by seeing that. And now we are having here that the accessing BIOS via the CMOS setup. So again, it is trying to tell to you that, I mean, how you are going to be entering into your BIOS. So it is talking about that common methods, the following, like that, what are the keys? Maybe you can try to enter into that your BIOS. So if you are going, if you are going to the, I mean, successfully go to that inside of your BIOS, you'll be able to see this type of, I mean, DOS mode, this type of window when you are going to be enter into your BIOS. Most probably with that, the most of the cases it is with the blue color, or maybe that, I mean, dark, I mean, black and white. It's sometimes again, or gray color maybe sometimes.
Hi,
So
hi.
if you're going to that, I
Give
mean,
all this
inside the
information
BIOS,
number.
so that the BIOS is going to be
Shiva.
have a main tab. On that the main tab, you're going to be get your system
আবার
informations,
রিভিউ করা লাগবে
like
প্লিজ
that your your real
ওয়েস্টিং
clock,
অফ
what is the
টাইম
time, that today's date you are going to be get, and then how many how much memory you are having, the system memory, extended memory, or maybe your DRAM informations, as well as you're going to be get here some of that the video informations, and also that you're going to be that the whiteboard. There are different informations will come here for the different computer systems that the BIOS you're using. All right, so here that the information is going to be tell you that, okay, I mean, what exactly you are having into your system. There is no information about the processor, but these days you're going to be get the information about the processor of itself. So you're going to be get to that the main tab. You're going to be get that all the system informations. I mean, real-time informations onto your computer, into your computer system. From your computer system, you're going to be get that. So if you're going to that, this is your Phonics BIOS, this is your Award BIOS. So these are actually settings are similar, but they are actually organized in a different ways. So you can see that here we are having the different tabs like information, advanced, security, boot, exit. So there are different setups are there. So you can move. Actually, if you're entering to the BIOS, you will be moved to that one tab to another tab to check that actually what are the features are there and what are the settings are there. Okay, so if you're selecting any one of that thing onto that, I mean, by using that up and down, select item is up and down, so keyboard up key and down key. So if you're selecting there, then you are going to be able to see a description that the thing you are selecting, you're going to be able to see a description into that the right screen. Okay, so look that it has been into the date. So it is telling that change the date. I mean, this is what that, I mean, for each and everything that you are going to be get an description into the right side. So you are having seeing here that the different IDE channel. So this is actually was there. I mean, it is there for that your hard disk information or DVD ROM information, that what type of hard disk you are having, what type of DVD you are having, CD ROM you are having, that the informations are going to be listed here. Okay, so this is what, I mean, it is trying to tell, I mean, tell you that inside of the BIOS how it is looks like. And there is another thing that is coming, the password, right? So look that if you're going to that the password, look that if there is a security option, security tab, if you're going inside of the security tab, then you'll be able to find it out that there are different passwords are there.
चौड़ों
Like
तो सीधा
that,
लगता है छोटे लगते हैं
there can be the supervisory password, there can be the default user password. There are different type of
श्योर गुनाश
passwords are
केवल
there.
अकाउंट
So these
होगा
passwords actually
खबर किसी की आज
make your BIOS the administrator usually use some sort of supervisory BIOS so that nobody can actually enter into the BIOS and change the settings of the computer system, and that can be actually harmful, right? So that is why, I mean, most of the cases that, I mean, in a company you'll see that the BIOS is simply locked with that the by admin, some of the admin. But this is that the I mean, if you are using that the BIOS password, then actually nobody will be able to see that even which operating system you have installed into your computer system, because you have to first cause that the BIOS to for entering into that your operating system, like that. I mean, so without knowing that the BIOS password, it's not possible that actually someone will be able to enter into that your operating system, or your computer system is going to boot up without the password. So that is what that the CMOS, I mean, you can control that the CMOS with the password, even you can control that your computer system with that the password, the BIOS password. Now the fact here is that, I mean, there's a clue that we have already got, that okay, if you're placing that the supervisory password, if you just forget that the password, or if you just want to, I mean, break a CMOS password, then you can simply that you can go to that the jumper, you can find that the jumper, and that you can remove the jumper, or you can remove that the CMOS battery and wait for 30 seconds and install them, or install it. Then actually you'll be able to see that, I mean, that there is no password, the password is going to be automatically removed. So this is what actually it is trying to tell to you, that okay, what is that the use of that the password, and how you're going to be remove the password. So that is actually explaining into this part of information. So this is what that, I mean, there are different configuration of BIOS settings it is talking about, like that. In this here you can see that the virus warning. So if it is always disable, look at here, it's explaining that what does the disable means here. It allows you to choose the virus warning feature for IDE hard disk boot sector protection. If this function is enabled and someone attempt to write data into your area, BIOS will show a warning message on the screen and alarm beep. So that is what, I mean, it is always say to disable it, that the virus warning, because it can happen that, I mean, if you are making it enabled, then maybe your computer system is going to be not functioning properly, or maybe that if you're trying to installing some of the software on that time, that your computer is not going to be allowed to install that the software. So this is what actually there is the virus warning is there. It most of the cases we should have to be always place it disable. So you can see that CPU internal cache, L2 cache, there are different information there. But the most important information is here on that actually till now we need, like that the boot level settings. So if you're going to inside your if you go and inside your BIOS, you'll be able to see that um there is a like that boot tab, BOOT boot tab. So if you go inside of the boot tab, then you are going to be see that there are sequence of boards, the booting up. So look at like the first board, second board, third board, and so on. So this is really important. So usually that the first board is going to be the hardest, is because your operating system is installed into the hardest. So definitely that, I mean, it is going to be boot up first the hardest. So that's because your computer is going to be start up from where that the all the bootable files, all that the needed files, it is going to be get from the hardest. So you are going to be placed that this one is the maybe hardest. The second one these days, So there it was before that floppy. These days you are not having the floppy, so you'll not be able to see that the floppy settings. You are going to be see that the hardest. So usually that is I say the first boot, and then the second boot it is maybe the CD-ROM. Third boot maybe that the USB, or maybe they are disabled. Okay. So now the question comes here that I mean why I say that these days also it is important as because if you are trying to installing the Linux based operating system like that, this is a common fashion that I mean the dual boots, right? So we know that I mean in a same computer system we actually we able to use more than one operating system. So like Windows operating system we can use, as well as we can use the Linux operating system into the same computer. So the dual boot or dual boot installation time, or even maybe you are using that the Windows operating system, you do not want to use it anymore, you want to switch onto that the Linux based operating system. So you need it because these days you are installing that the operating system. Mostly these days we are using the USB drive, the flash drive, for installing that our operating system. So when you are going to be install your operating system from that the USB, then you should have to go inside of your BIOS, and then you should have to change that the boot sequences. That means on that time, the first boot sequence should need to be USB drive. Okay, so that means when your computer is, if it is you are making it USB drive, and you are restarting your computer system, so that your computer first it will go to that the USB drive. It is going to be find that the USB, so that the bootable file is going to be open up, and your computer is going to be ready to install the operating system. But if you're not changing that the first boot device to that the USB, if it is hard disk, then it is not going to be get. Before getting that the USB drive, it will actually catch that the operating system into that the hard drive. So it is not going to be. It is already going to be get the boot to run that the Windows operating system, rather than to get your floppy drive, your flash drive. Sorry, your flash drive. And it can happen that you are having a CD or DVD for installing your Windows operating system, or maybe the Linux based operating system. So if you're having that, on that case, the first boot device you need to be set the CD or DVD ROM, right? Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it's a very important part, okay, that the boot sequences. So usually when you are installing that the operating system, on that time you should have to be know that how to enter into your setup, and how to change that the boot. The board usually you're going to be see that, so you're going to be change
Yeah,
it
totally.
that your boot sequences, and then you're going to be click on that the exit, and you're going to be able to see that there is a save and exit. So you simply that the save and exit, and then actually you restart the computer system. Then your computer system is going to be behave according to that your setup, your according to that your settings that you have set up. Okay, so that is what actually it is important. So this is all that I mean to discussions about that the BIOS that we are having, BIOS and CMOS. So yeah, there are I mean a few things I mean you are going to be able to explore, I mean when you are going to be need those things to do, like that the Linux based operating system. You know that I mean that the for the computer science and engineer students, you must need to know actually that how to operate the Linux based operating system, and for the advanced studies in the masters and PhD, definitely you need that you need that Linux based operating system, as because there in that the most of the research field you need to do some simulations, or you need to do some maybe that some research based work, that I mean special simulation tools are there. So they are actually friendly, they are much more friendly into that the Linux based operating system rather than the Windows.
Sir,
But
isn't
yeah,
Linux called kernel?
yeah, right, the
So
kernel.
what is the difference between Windows operating system and kernel?
Yeah, the kernel is both, in the both cases it is going to be there. Kernel is that actually hard, right? For the operating system, the kernel is hard, the core hard. Okay, it's nothing but it's a hard of the operating system. Okay,
Uh,
so in the both cases, it is going to be there, Windows and that the Linux, right?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so here that I mean the thing actually we are trying to discussing here is that I mean for the when you are going to be installed that the Linux based operating system in your computer system, so you're going to be find out maybe sometimes you're going to be find it out that there are a lot of things you should have to face out, and if you're not facing them, actually you're not going to be learn it out that how to overcome them. So if you're going correctly to install that Linux based operating system, then you'll not face any problem. But if you are doing something wrong, if you are not, I mean, when you're installing it, if you're not taking that the steps that actually exactly you need to be take for installing something, then maybe it is going to be give you a lot of pain to fix it up. Okay, so usually that I mean there are so many YouTube's videos are there, so many web blogs are there that they are telling to you actually how to install the Linux based operating system. So if you are looking to them, if you're following them properly, then there is not going to be any problem. You'll see that I mean there, without any problem you are dealing with that your both I mean your operating systems you'll be able to easily use. So you are using the dual if you are using the dual operating system, then what is going to be happen is that I mean if you want to remove that, okay, you install that the Linux based operating system as a second dual operating system. So then if you want to remove it, how you're going to be removed? So that for that also you should need to be follow that the correct procedures, otherwise it is going to be give you a lot of pain. I mean you know that I mean these days, so with that the UEFI, that the BIOS, the new
Sorry,
features, if you're
मतलब
having
जावे
into your computer system,
assignment
then it
executive
is going to be
computers.
give you a lot of pain. I mean, some of the BIOSes are not allowing. They are highly securing that the Windows operating system such a way that I mean to break them and to install that the other operating system into that on those PCs or systems is
तो
quite
ভালো
difficult.
কথা
I mean, the way they have
তো
actually
প্রবলেম কি
making
সলভ
the
হয়েছে
security of the system. Like
পাগল হয়ে যাব
I have a, I mean, that the computer I'm using now that is Prodex from HP, that is the brand computer.
still have that issue
So I tried to actually install the Linux onto this into this computer, but I failed. Actually, I was it's impossible. For me, I tried many ways. 2 days spent. 2 days I have spent for that. You know that I mean I failed to install that Linux based operating system into my PC. Then later, after searching in the Google, after studying in the Google, I found that I mean in these products in this HP desktop computer is a very I mean highly secured BIOS, and it is not possible. I mean it is going to be very hard or complex if you are trying to installing that the other operating system on this. So then I changed my mind, and then I have installed the Linux operating system into my laptop. So this is what look that I mean I tried to install here, so that's why I know that actually how difficult it is to install this into that the brand PC like the HP. So that the HP, if you're having the brand PC for the HP, then it's actually the BIOS is really high secured and with that the Windows operating system. So it is really difficult to I mean use the dual operating system. So that means two operating system at the same time. Okay, but if you're trying to installing that maybe only one operating system with Linux, then actually you can just remove that. I mean the Windows operating system, and then you can actually you'll be able to install. Anyway, so my trying was I was trying to I mean install that the dual based operating system. So, but I faced a lot of problems. And then I moved to that the laptop. When I was installing into the laptop, in the laptop also there were some problems. Okay, because I was installing the different like Ubuntu. I have installed that Fedora. So I installed with them. There were some problems with the 64-bit, 32-bit. So I mean, when I have done it, I mean, I installed it properly. I was using that, but what for the reason I have installed it, for that actually I needed to change that. I mean, I needed to switch from that the one operating system to the another operating system. But you know that I faced a lot of problems with them also. That I mean, installing the Linux-based operating system, installing some tools, I mean simulation tools onto that the operating system, installing that the your input output device into that the Linux based operating system is quite tough job. I mean sometimes it is going to be give you a lot of pain. If you're lucky, then I think there is not going to be any problem. You'll be able to easily able to do them if you're lucky. Anyway, So the problem, basically the problem is, most of the problems is happening because we have already switched from the 32 bits to the 64 bits PC. So that is what the one of the major issues, that okay, then how to, I mean, work with the 32 bits systems, or 32 bits, some of the useful tools, or useful simulations, or useful experiments, that how I'm going to be running to the 64 bit. So that is coming a big questions, and people are facing, the researchers are facing a lot of problems due to this issue, that okay, how to switch from the 32 bit PC to 64 bit, and how to switch from the 64 bit to the 32 bit PC. So if you are having that the 64 4 bit PC, then it is not working. I mean that the 32 bit pieces informations are not working into the 64 bit pieces. So this is creating a lot of chaos and lot of complexity during the experiment, or during the simulation times. So anyway, so that is what I mean. You need to learn it. I mean that the how to use that the Linux based operating system from your bachelor degree itself, because it may useful for your thesis also, because you're going to have the thesis, 1 year thesis you're going to be have. So maybe will be able to use your Linux based operating system for some of the virtual simulations tools. Maybe you will be able to use there, and you'll be able to test your proposal over there. Anyway, so this is what some of the experiences, the recent experiences I have tried to give to you here. That if you are installing the Linux based operating system, there is going to be some problems. Definitely that in the computer system you are trying to do something experimental. If you want to learn something, then definitely you are going to be need to deal with them. And when you're going to be deal with them, you are going to be see that there are a lot of pain, there are going to be a lot of problems are there. But don't worry, you should have to be find out, I mean, what is the problem you are facing, correctly ask to the Google with that another device. You are going to be get all of the answers, that okay, why you are facing these problems, why you are getting these messages, what is that the problem exactly you are having in the PC. So it is going to be kill your time definitely, but you are going to be learning it out practically, that okay, what are the problems can be there, and if the problem is coming, how to get the solution, how to solve it. So there are a lot of things will, I mean, will be able to learn, I mean, if you are dealing with these things. But if you're not installing, if you're not trying to explore the new things, then you're not going to be face them. And without facing them, actually by following the documents, the learning thing is actually quite difficult. So this is what that I mean, we are finishing this the discussions of BIOS here. And can we have a 10 minutes break?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, after 10 minutes break, we are going to be discuss about our assignments. Okay,
All right, sir.
so we are coming back at 10. 10 minutes after, that means at 10. Okay, 48
Okay,
it
sir.
is, 12 minutes actually.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Okay, I am here now. How about you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's have your attendance here because some of the students, I mean, they are
Yes,
not
sir.
here.
Has
I
left.
mean,
Yes, sir.
yeah,
Yes,
they
sir.
have, they
Missed my
have,
attendance.
yeah, they, some of the students missed their attendance and some of the students given the attendance and they left. This is quite interesting. Okay, so Abid Hassan is here? Not here.
Uh,
Okay, Ayman Nahat Salim is absent. Mukit Hassan Jim, absent. Jahidul Islam, not here. Okay. Pudarani Bishesh,
Yes, sir.
this is here. Sharmina Ahmed Labanno,
Present, sir.
okay. Afiza Akra,
Yes, sir.
Rahatil, Rahatil Mahmuda. Rahatil Mahmuda is also not here, okay. Rasel Mullah,
Present, sir.
okay. Jerin Akhtar,
Yes, sir.
okay. Rukta Roy is absent today. Saima Akhtar is also absent today. Farjana Akhtar Moli,
Yes, sir.
Jannatul Ferdowsi. Jannatul Ferdowsi also left. Okay, very good. Oshim, MD Oshim, he is also
Present,
left.
sir.
Okay,
Present, sir.
okay, thank you. Sylvia,
Yes, sir.
okay,
Yes, sir.
Kushika Akhtar,
Yes, sir.
Kushika Akhtar, you're fine. Then Habiba Ferdows Obi, Obi is also left. Okay, Mahinul Alam,
Yes, sir.
Mahinul Alam is here.
Yes, sir.
मुझे चाहना मेरा काम है तेरे प्यार में पागल हूँ।
Okay, Mahinul Alam is here, so no problem. Mariat Jahan Miti, Miti is absent today. Firdausi Akhtar, Firdausi Akhtar is also left. Okay, already I found 6 or 7 students. They are not here. After coming, giving the attendance, they lost. Yeah, Firdausi Akhtar, you came back. You are here. Okay, she is here. Okay, fine.
Maybe, sir, her network problem.
Sir, Janatul Firdaus is present, sir.
Right, I got it. Mahinur.
Sir, Kamrut sir.
Yes, sir.
Wait. Firdausi Akhtar it was. Firdausi Akhtar, where it is. Jannatul Firdausi, right? MD Oshim.
214.
Present, sir.
42.
Firdausi, I'm sorry. Firdausi Akhtar. Okay, Saifuddin Ahmed Rokib.
560.
He is absent today.
Not bad.
Ashraful Islam Khan.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. May Rafuz Jui.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you joined later on, right? You missed out.
Yes, sir.
Class. Okay. May Rafuz Jui gone. Okay, Galib Al Faisal.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Fumaira Islam Shifa.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mahmoud Akhtar.
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Thank you. Fojia Shorkar Disha. She is absent today. Tahira Tabassum Choiti. It is absent today. Sumaya Chaudhuri.
Yes, sir.
Okay, she is today with us. She has also done one day that Sumaya Chaudhuri, you must have to come to the class early. Okay.
Yes,
Rahul
sir.
did not.
Yes, sir.
Rahul did not miss out the first hour class.
Yes, sir.
Kamrud Jaman.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mamun Hussein joining.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mizanur Rahman. Mizanur Rahman is absent today. Not only today, but also the last class. 6 classes she missed out. Don't know that why these people are registering these courses. Mizanur Rahman is absent and Ashikud Jaman is here, right?
Yes, sir.
Ashik?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we have done. Okay, so now we are going to be discuss about our assignment. So I'm going to be show you a demo, right? That how you are going to be prepare your assignment. So you can do one thing. You can take the pictures of the pages that I'm going to be discuss with you here on. Because I'm not going to be upload the demo assignment onto the Facebook group. So maybe you can, if you want, you can actually take the pictures of the pages that I'm going to be show you, that how you are going to be prepare your demo. Your assignment.
Okay, sir.
Just a moment. Let me find that. Where did I keep it? Okay, I got it. Section desktop. Tiny assignment. Okay, can you see motherboard on the screen?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, so this is prepared by one of the student, I mean earlier days. So first of all, that what you have to do is that you should have to know that actually what is your desktop PC's motherboard at your home, that the computer you're having, what is the board you're having, motherboard you're having. So you should have to find out that the model of that the motherboard. So you can easily find it out by using that the CPU. I said you that to install that is CPU JET. I have already said about that CPU JET. Okay, so you can install the CPU JET, and if you are installing the CPU JET and running it on the motherboard tab, you will be able to see that what is your motherboard model. So if you get your motherboard model, then just simply go to search that your the model, search that the your motherboard picture, the high resolution picture from Google Images. So then you should have to place it with that the motherboard name, your motherboard like this in a page, and then you should have to tell about this motherboard, the basic information. Okay, the basic things information. So you are knowing that okay, this is my motherboard. You are finding this picture, as well as you should have to find out the manual, this motherboard manual, that the motherboard you are having. Okay, so I was talking about the bips. So this is that the actually the speaker onto the board who is going to be give you the bips. Okay, so this is the motherboard picture you have given. You should have to collect the manual, and after collecting the manual, from the manual you are going to be get this motherboard specification. So that means you are going to be get all sort of informations that okay, what are the hardwares are there, and what are the models are there, what are that the I mean their latest information, that the all hardware's detailed information you're going to be get, and that the specification is going to be come as a table or come as like this with the point. So you can see that what is the processor can be support in this motherboard. So Intel Core i7, Core i5, Core i3, and Pentium processor in that the LGA1156 package. So that means this is a LGA1156 slot that we are having, and these are that the processors are going to be supported on this motherboard CPU
Isn't that
socket.
ATX?
So this is what you should have to keep all those informations that I mean you are getting from that your manual. We are going to replace all those information that what exactly you are having onto your motherboard. So after listing them, then you are going to be get the layout in detail. So you are going to be get this layout inside the manual of that the motherboard. So the manual you are getting on that the manual, the motherboard layout is going to be represent some of the main components of the motherboard. You can see here that we are having so many components are there, but in this layout we are not. We are having only that the main components, that actually what are the main components the motherboard layout for the computer system. So you can see that we are having that the CPU socket, we are having that the CMOS battery, we are having that the system 3-pin connector, we are having that the PCI Express, PCI E1. This is actually the AGP slot, or that the PCI Express slots for the high graphics card dedicated for the graphical graphics expansion slot. And then we are having PCI E1, PCI E2, PCI E3, Express 2, Express 3, and PCI 1. So this is the normal one where you can actually install the sound card, or maybe that LAN card, and so on. So these are that the some of that the connectors that we are having beside of that the motherboards. and each of the connectors have a specific uses. Then we are having here that the RAM. So you can see that the RAM slots, we are having 4 RAM slots we are having, and they are supporting the DIM 1, DIM 2, DIM 3, DIM 4. Okay. And then you are having the system fan 2 3-pin connector. You are having the IDE connector. You are having that the main ATX 20 pin or 24 pin power connector. Then you are having that the CPU fan connector 4 pin, and you are having that the P4 power connector for extra 12 volt to the processor. You are having some top mouse button keyboard. So this is the PS2, the back panel, actually the different back panel connectors. So what are that the back panel connectors are available into this motherboard. So this is actually showing into a layout, so that each of these things are now you are going to be discussed into your assignment. What is your CPU socket? Okay, so that your CPU socket, so that the CPU socket picture you can simply crop from this. You should have to be make sure that the motherboard model you are using, the CPU socket exactly for that motherboard CPU socket picture you are giving. So it's better that you crop this motherboard's socket from this picture itself. So how you are going to be do it? You just simply open this picture with the paint, and in the paint you can select this socket, and then you can just copy it and paste it into your Microsoft Word, and then give that the information of this CPU socket. So look that he has given that the table, and he's telling the type of this socket is LGA, and chip form factors, contacts as FSB, that is actually the front side bus protocol, and then processor dimension, processor generations. So all information he has given, and he has given also a bit informations about this CPU socket. So where from he got these informations? From the manual. And then the RAM slots, it is talking about that, okay, what type of RAM slot it is, and the detailed information, a bit detailed information with the pictures, a detailed informations about that the RAM. Then he has gone for that the PCIe Express. So the PCIe 1 that we have seen already, that PCIe 1, PCIe 2, PCIe 3, there are 3. So this is actually that dedicated one, that for the graphics card. And then it is talking about the chipset. So it is having a chipset here, that is HSPCH1. So that the chipset here, it is actually the heat sink. Under the heat sink, you are going to have that the chipset. So you can see here that we are having a single chipset MSI. So that is actually the heat sink. Underneath of heat sink, you are having that the express chipset. Okay, so that is actually he is trying to show here. So this is the express chipset underneath of that the heat sink. And then you are having the 24 pin power connector. So what does that the 24 pin connector pin layout? So that is actually showing in this figure. That is all the things are collected from that the manual. Okay, so you are going to be also do this same way, that you are going to be collect all the things from the manual. Usually I ask the students to write these informations into the with the handwriting. Okay, but you are not going to be do it with the handwriting. You are going to be do it with that the similar way that the document has been prepared. So it is going to be easier job for you. So I'm going to be reduce your pressure. Okay, so you should have to do it accurately, that the way you are saying it here. And then you are having that the CPU fan, 4-pin power connectors. So for the CPU fan, so it is written here also. So you know that it is used for that the fan we are having on the top of the CPU. So to run that, actually we should need to be connect this 4-pin CPU fan connector with the cable fan female connector. So then the system fan and then the BIOS. So it is having the a single BIOS. This one is SPI1. So what is that? And then the CMOS battery, and then SATA serial. So these are the SATA ports, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I'm not wrong, there are 5 in total. And then this is the back panel connectors. So that the back panel connectors you are having here, that you should have to tell each of the back panel connectors name, and their information, that what is the purposes they are going to be used. Then you are having a PATA connector. If you are having on the board, then you should have to be tell detail about the IDE. And then that the buzzer, so I say that this is actually that your your speaker, or that the beeps. Okay, so that's the buzzer information. Then you are having the PCI slot, so I say that this is a usual one, or actually you can use the LAN card or the USB card or that other peripheral cards. Then Super IO controller, that what it does and what are the features of that controller. This is the Super IO controller. And then these are as I say that the layout that you're having one in the one corner of the motherboard, you'll see these connectors. So what are these connectors are and what are the use of them? And then you have to select another motherboard. Usually I call it from the lab pieces, but I will ask you that all of you can actually just take the picture of the ASUS H81ME. So this is one of the motherboard of our lab computer. So I can tell that you can directly use this motherboard for your assignment. The first one should need to be your home computer, and second one you can use this directly, all of you. And then your similar way that mainboard specifications from the manual, it has been collected, then the layout has been given. This is coming with much more better with the numbers, so it is going to be easy to explain them. So number one is going to be that it is, what is that, 3-pin power connector. So that it means this means system fan. Okay, so number by number you are going to be tell each of these informations in the layout. So he has done it at the CPU socket. He has actually started with the main components. So he's giving the information of that, some information of that the LGA CPU socket, then the RAM slots. Remember that, I mean, this similar that the first motherboard we have seen. So remember that you are not trying to including anything outside of this layout. Some of the students do the mistake that, okay, they are talking about the CPU, right? In this assignment they try to include the CPU's information, but CPU is not coming with the motherboard. We are doing the assignments for the motherboard. So what exactly on the motherboard we are having, that we are going to be talk about. What exactly in this layout you are going to be having, that we are going to be talk about. Nothing else than that. We do not need to talk about DRAM. We do not need to talk about the processor. We do not need to talk about the graphics card. But we are going to be talking about the CPU socket, memory slots, PCI Express slot. Do you understand that? So on the motherboard, what we are having, in the layout, what we are having, that the explanation will going to be bring. Same way that the first motherboard we have seen, the second one also same way it will come. After coming this, then you are going to be make a comparison between that your home motherboard and that the second motherboard that you have explained. So how you're going to be compare, it is very easy. So you are having the specifications for each of the motherboard. So write down that who is the manufacturer for the first motherboard and second motherboard. What is the chipset has been used for the first motherboard, second motherboard. What is the CPU socket has been used, first motherboard, second motherboard. So this way you are going to be prepare this table. The table informations you are going to be give it. That okay, what this motherboard holds, what this motherboard holds. Then you are going to be decide by this comparison table, by showing this comparison table, you are going to be decide which motherboard is better. Is it your home one or is it your lab one? Which motherboard is better? So you are going to be just in a paragraph, you are going to be inform it that okay, by seeing these main components informations, we can able to see that okay, this motherboard is better than that. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
So this is your motherboard assignment that I mean you should have to do, all of you. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So in this assignment he does not use the CPU jet, as because the CPU jet in the motherboard section you are going to be only see the motherboard model. That what is that the motherboard model, what generation information also you are going to see. So maybe that is why he did not use, it's not necessary actually to use the CPU jet in case of that the motherboard assignment, as because I mean all the informations can be gettable from that the manual itself. Okay, so this is the first assignment. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Any
And
question?
Yes, sir.
sir, what about the deadline?
Deadline we are going to be discuss about it later on. Don't worry.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is our first assignment. The second assignment about the BIOS. So this is the BIOS assignment, second one. Yeah, so you should have to go to your computer BIOS. You should have to know that what type of BIOS you are having into your computer system. So yeah, so this is the first skin of the BIOS. So we already learned it out that to enter into our BIOS after starting up the computer, I mean after pressing that the power button, immediately you should have to press the special key. Maybe you can try with the F2. If it is not working, then F10. If it is not working, then delete. If it is not working, then try to find it out with that your motherboard manual. Okay, that what motherboard you're having, and check it in the Google that which key is to enter into the BIOS. Okay, so if you're entering into the BIOS, the first skin will come like that. So take the picture of the first skin with the mobile phone and place it into the Microsoft Word, and you can actually place the information. I mean the picture. So you can see that it is a recent one. So you can see that the CPU type. It is showing that i-Core i5. So we are having the i9 processors actually coming, right? So, but it is that the i5. So still it is a very popular processor these days. We also using. In my CPU, in my laptop, I think I have i5. Okay, so I have bought it in 2013, and it is 2021. So it is having the 2.60 gigahertz, 2.6 gigahertz because it is a dual core processor, right? So now here, this is the other information, the model name, serial name. So you can see that the CPU's information is here. And if you're looking to that the BIOS version, that what BIOS version is, it is B218, and the BIOS name you can see here. And then you are having that the system information actually, that the information you're getting here, that is the system information for the BIOS, CPUs, and manufacturer. Okay, so you're getting it. And if you're going to the main, the next tab, I think he has given it. So what do you have to do? That first skin, that what are the names are you are seeing here, each of them you should have to tell that what it is showing. For example, the first one is CPU type. So what type of CPU type, what is that the CPU type means? CPU type is the CPU processor model which is installed in this system, and the system model of CPU is Intel Core, this one. So just you should need to have a description of this line. Okay, CPU type means that what CPU model actually you have, I mean CPU you have installed into your computer system. Okay, so that is the one line information for each of them you should have to give. What is the CPU speed? So it is actually telling that how your system clock is going to be faster, how much it is going to be faster. One core of a multi-core processor is running, is used as an indicator. Processor speed is measured its clock cycles per second, typically represented with gigahertz. The CPU speed of the CPU is 2.60 gigahertz. More CPU speed means more performance. So that is what actually that the question has been asked into your first term examination. Okay, for the CSC 347. So this is the system clock, the CPU speed. The CPU speed measures through the system clock. You can measure the CPU speed 2.60 gigahertz. So that similarly, that all of that features you are having here. So you should have to write the informations for each of them. So how to write with informations for each of them? So you should have to be you do not know what is that, what does it mean. This is actually the hard disk drive model name. So you can search in Google. Okay, so you can get the information if it is necessary. You can go to the Google and then you can get the description of it and you can use it. Remember that I have asked to write only the few sentences, and that's why you can see that it's looking very nice, that all of the informations you are having in single page. So make sure that you're not trying to give that more information, rather that the key sentence for each of that the informations are listed here. So when you have done it, then you are going for the main part. So that is the second one. So now you can see that the system clock information, system date, that in memory, that what is the memory, 4096 MB, the video memory, network board. So you can see here, and all of these cases that you are going to be get that the description here. So it is the system time, so you should have to be right that okay, what it is representing. Says the system time, the hours are displayed, the 24 format, the format is hour, SSS. So this way the system date you are going to be give, total memory you are going to be give, and the video memory you are going to be get. So all that the informations are listed in this second picture. So you should have to be take the picture with mobile phone. So it is going to be your motherboard, remember, your computer system. And this is also I need to be tell to you that the motherboard assignment, actually all the assignments you are doing, that is going to be for your computer system. So if you are trying to be smart, if you are trying to actually use the different motherboards, you will be able to catch very easily that you are not actually doing it for your computer system. These assignments are really important in the sense that it should need to be for a single computer system. So all the assignments you're going to be do, that is going to be for your home computer, the single computer. Okay, otherwise there is no use of having these assignments. So you should have to know about the main, all that the information you're listing. And then third, you're going for the security. So in the security, so look that we have talked about that the password, that the supervisory password, user password, HDD password, right? And set the supervisory password, how to remove the supervisory password. So you should have to also know that how to remove it. So for if you're setting it up, then you should have to enter and give that the password and save it and exit it. Then that when you're starting the computer system, it is going to be ask you that the BIOS password. After giving that the password, you'll be able to enter into your Windows operating system. And if you want to change it, that okay, I don't want the supervisory password, you have to come back to BIOS and come into that the supervisory password, give the enter. I mean, it is going to be ask the supervisor, give it, and come to the set supervisory password, give enter, and place it blank, and save and exit. Then the password is going to be removed. So this is what I mean. These informations you have to tell it here that what is the use of supervisory password, shows the setting of the supervisory password, option clear or set if no password is set. So user password is shown. So you should have to be know that actually what is that the supervisory password is, what is the set user password is. So it is telling you that so supervisory password, this password protects the BIOS setup utility from unauthorized access. The user can neither enter the setup menu nor change the value of parameters. So this is what you should have to know, that each of that the type of the passwords, what is the reason that you need these passwords. So what that your computer BIOS is showing for the security purposes, all of them you should have to list, and this way with a few sentences you should have to explain that what are they. So you're coming for boarding a boot, so that is that the UI UEFI that I was talking about. So that is mode is on, it can be also disabled. Then the secure board it is actually of course that it is disabled. And board priority, so that is what I was talking about, that the board priority, that the first boot priority is the Windows boot manager. Then that is maybe the hardest, I do not know, maybe that the CD-ROM, this one, the second one. And third one is that the USB and network boot, so and so on. USB CD-ROM, the fifth one. So here it is talking about that the UI legacy BIOS and the secure board, what it is. So you should have to be tell each of that the options here, that what this the sequences of BIOS, sequences of the boards booting, that you should have to mention. And the last one is exit. So that is what I was talking about, the save changes. So exit saving changes. So exit saving changes. So you can see here that how you are going to be set up and save your changes to CMOS. So you should have, after entering this, you should have to ask you that okay, yes or no. So if you're giving the yes, then it is going to be save and restart the computer system. So understand that how to prepare that the BIOS operating BIOS assignments.
Yes, sir. Got it.
So these are the two assignments I am giving, and I will expect to get these two assignments. How long time you need? Tell me. You tell me. Is it okay if I'm giving you 15 days?
Yes, sir. That will be okay.
Okay. Okay, then the March 14. Okay. March 14, 13, March 13, Saturday. Submit it. Is it okay?
Yes,
Or
sir.
you need more time? Other students?
Sir, maybe before the finals.
Before the final, then it is going to be too much pressure on you. Why you are unnecessarily want to take the load? If I am giving that the before the final, then nobody is going to be do this assignment now. They'll keep it for that the when that the final moment will come, and on
Sir,
that time,
I think so it will better before midterm, sir.
right, exactly. So it is as soon as
Yes,
possible.
sir.
If you are doing it, then it finished. It's not a
Yes, sir.
job that it's going to be nothing to invent. So that you just have to find out what is your motherboard model, what is your BIOS model, and then you are collecting the pictures from the internet. In case of BIOS, you should have to take the picture by mobile phone. But it is only that you should have to be spend some time with the things to prepare the assignments. So maybe the 15 days is 2 weeks is going to be, I think, enough. What do you say?
Okay, sir.
So maybe our midterm exam will be started March in 18 March. That's if you give the time 18 March
Yeah,
before.
yeah. That's why I say 13.
13. Okay, sir.
13
13
March.
is okay.
If you are submitting it 13 March, that is going to be fine. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the deadline for submitting these two assignments is 13 March. And one thing I would like to tell you that I have shown you the demonstration. Sorry, that yeah, I've shown you that demo assignment, right? So you know that how to prepare them. So make sure that you are preparing it correctly, because I'm going to be check the assignments. If I am finding that you did not follow the instructions, or you did not follow that what I asked, then it is going to be asked you to again revise them, and with that some penalty marks. You understand that? Usually in physically time, you can ask in your seniors. This motherboard assignment, some batches they have done 6 to 7 times. Then also that is also with the writing, handwriting. 6 to 7 times they have done to correctly do it. So if you're not following the procedures, I'm going to give you the 0. The assignments, for each of the assignments, are going to be 10 marks. So the instructions you have got, the information,